when you look at successful people, like you look at the marshmallow test, the people who are able to defer enjoyment in life, business, whatever it is, end up being more successful by a large order of magnitude over those that take shortcuts. Steven Pinker writes in a book, it's like a 22-hour listen for those people who like to read audiobooks, but it is the final like thesis of the thing was that it was great. It was like basically there's never been a better time to be a victim. And I was like, dude, those are such profound words. And I think I read it in 2018. And I was like, oh my God, when was this book written? 2009. And I was like, holy fuck, like what a foresight he had. And it's a lot of the college professors, I think, like Jonathan Haidt, Jordan Peterson, those guys, that they had that front row seat to a lot of this. And, but it's that, like, you like, we're running out of stuff to complain about. And then like, we're understanding that like throughout history, you know, we can point the finger and be like, I have a better idea, whatever it is, like this is unfair. And, you know, it could have been right, wrong, or indifferent. But now it's like, I feel like those arrows and fingers are like slowly turning inward where it's like, listen, if you want to enact any amount of change, it starts with you.
Yeah.
Like I was like going off the rails on this the other day with like dads and like and their sons, and like I've just honestly been really struggling about like the whole like sports thing.
Let's explain that really quick. The whole sports thing is like parents dedicate their entire personality and life and everything that matters to their elementary school child's sports career. And it's like, this doesn't make sense. And they just get really competitive. It's just like a whole thing. And it's not unique to California, SoCal.
Well, it is unique because there's so many people.
But it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
But not at the degree that it is here, because it's a numbers game. It's not like California's special. It's a numbers game. If you look at cities like California, Florida, New York, Ohio, anytime you have a dense population and strong sports, that this is going to happen. Listen, I was one of the best players in my entire state growing up. Like, that's 1.4 million people. There are what?
3 million.
There are 30 million people within a 30-mile radius or 60-mile radius of this location. It's a whole different animal.
30 million? I don't know
how many
so.
live in California. I don't know.
I think 40 million live in
There's
California.
3 million in Orange County, right?
There's 3 million in Orange County, and there's probably 8 or 10 in LA, right?
Yeah. So this county alone, right, which is much smaller than where I grew up, has 3 times more people than my entire state.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a fishbowl thing, right? It's humans are smart. They're very adaptive people. Like, we kind of pull up into these tribes, and I mean, for me, it's funny because and where it hits me the most is like not talking to dads, really. It's talking to like when I interface with people that are younger, like 23, 25, who don't have kids, and they have this idea of like, oh, like when I have kids, like they're going to play football. They're going to be on these competitive teams. And I'm like, you say that now, right? And I've said that too. But then you get there and you realize that competition has diminishing returns.
Yeah.
What makes us capitalism is great. It's a great system. Doesn't work for everyone, but competition is great. But there is a point where too much competition is a bad thing, because it rules people out from getting started. It's less inclusive. And to me, like at the young age, all those negative things are like just fucking in my face. And I struggle. I mean, that's something I like genuinely struggle with. I haven't talked to you about a lot, but because they have it wrong. Like there's no data point. There's nothing they can point to where they're right. Because the literature on the topic is that people who do best are well-rounded. Like we have this idea of like, if I want to become Tiger Woods, Serena, these are 2 great examples, right? These are in the great book called Range, is that I need from a young age, I need to start swinging a golf club, and that's the only way I'm going to make the PGA Tour. Yeah. When most of the people who are professional athletes played multiple sports growing up. Yeah. They didn't just focus on one thing. And and that's just not true of sports. That's true of like what they find in research, right? If you're a cardiologist, and you know they've create more breakthroughs by meeting with a neurologist and having people come in who know a lot about different areas and are able to piece things together. And that's true about leadership. I think internal medicine doctors are so underrated. That's why an internal medicine doctor saved my life. And there were great doctors at Johns Hopkins, which is a really good hospital, that were, in specific areas. They could not figure out what was wrong with me. So I finally got to the internal medicine doctor, and he's the one that figured it out. Yeah. And I've always had like such a respect for someone who understands everything from that day forward, because I don't think I would have figured it out. But it goes back to
wasn't
the
for him.
incentive system,
Yeah.
right? Modern medicine is not incentivized to help Nancy. It's incentivized to prescribe,
Oh yeah.
right? It's incentivized to pump whatever
But I mean, my point is that, like, it's not to be a hyper focused specialist in one piece of the pie. I think is overvalued, and I think actually knowing a little bit less about more things give you a broader perspective, especially in business and sports and like leadership, teammates, all that stuff, and obviously in health. That I would rather know a lot about a lot of things than know everything about one thing.
You mean a little bit about a lot of things.
Well, I mean, a good amount about a lot of things rather than knowing everything about one thing. I mean, a great example is being a pre and postnatal specialist for ab rehab and helping women heal diastasis and pelvic floor. You can study everything about DR and pelvic floor and how to heal it and how to approach it and da-da-da-da. And I've had a lot of coaches work for me over the years. The best coaches are always the ones that understand kinesiology and the body as a whole. They understand training mediums outside of pre and postnatal. Like Lindsay Davis is a great example, our director of coaching. She, by trade, is a trainer that trained, high intensity strength training, just like me, a lot of group fitness, worked with thousands and thousands of people over a long period of time, had her eyes on a lot of bodies, a lot of movement patterns, a lot of different imbalances and situations. And then she learned pre and postnatal, and she just took off. You know why? Because she had this understanding of fitness
Foundation.
and the body as a whole, kinesiology as a whole, nutrition as a whole, and how those things are interconnected. So then when you add in that specialty, that expertise on top of it, watch the fuck out, because that is where you want someone to be. And that's always been the case for us. And I mean, it's great when we have a pelvic floor therapist come in and we utilize them and lean on them for specific things. But no one, in my opinion, is better than to have someone that understands the entire body and how training works as a whole, not just one piece. But that could be applied to like any industry, I think.
Well, there's no substitute for being well-rounded.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're saying.
And that's the kind of real athlete that you were. I mean, it's the kind of businessman you are, but it was also the kind of athlete that you were. You weren't necessarily best at one specific position, but you were like really good at a lot of different things, and you're really good at leadership.
Thank you. But that's how you get good.
Yeah.
Right. And I think you can never have all your eggs in one basket. Right. And that's what caused a lot of health issues or mental health issues. And, especially the kids not being able to handle adversity. Like you should want them to lose. You should want them to lose.
You
should want them to lose. Not want them to lose. Cause we want to win. Like, I mean,
everyone wants to win, but like they need to have
not
experience losing and coming back from losing. I think
you're correct. You should want them to lose. You should want them to learn. Right. And learning should not be correlated with winning. You learn more from, like I always say in college, I have 1 C in college, rest A's, couple B's. And that class I learned a C in, cost accounting, I forget the professor's name. He was a real dick, but a great, great teacher. I learned more in that class that I got a C than maybe all of my accounting classes combined. And he had terrible reviews. He had a bad reputation. But like the thing is, I learned most there, right? And like that's life. Like you don't learn when everything's going rosy and everything's, back's not against the wall and everything's, pie in the sky. Like, so you want to craft that. Jonathan Haidt writes a lot about this, I think in the happiness hypothesis, but it's all about your child experiencing adversity at like, I don't know, I'm just going to make it up, but like 6th grade, like 3rd grade to 6th grade, because they don't want it too late in life because then it's too fucking late. And they don't want it too early because then they'll develop kind of like trust issues and like, they'll grow up to be, have some difficulties, and it's all about the timing. And I just look back and I just like look what we're doing, and I'm just like, man, like I played at a really high level, and I did not even start until I was in 5th grade. And then I played offensive line, and I was so heartbroken. I thought I was going to be a quarterback. I thought I was going to be a running back. Everyone else on the team did. They put all the fat kids up front, said, run that way, catch a pass. If you dropped it, you didn't get to play quarterback. I was so bummed I had to play the line.
Don't call yourself fat.
Well, I was chubbier, kid. But and then what happened, right? Then you say, okay, if I want to do this, if I want to play running back, I want to do all these things, I've got to work, right? And it's that thing where, I was telling you, we had kids that we'd play with who came in who were like record-breaking running backs at the most bumfuck schools in the corner of the state that you could think of. could not even play on the practice squad.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't even good enough to be fourth-string players.
Yeah.
And they got scholarships because they had the the West Virginia. Because they had, and they didn't make it. They literally didn't make it a full season.
Yeah.
And it's like that's like, you can't live in this world where you just curate. I mean, Jonathan Haidt isn't his thing, but you prepare the child for the road, not the road for the child.
Yeah.
And so much of what I see in sports is preparing the child, or preparing the road for the child.
Yeah.
By saying, hey, you're going to play this position, you're going to play on this team, and here's what you're going to do.
You're going to play on this team because they win every single game.
You're going to win every game, and you're going to be beating the shit out of a bunch of rec league teams. And it's just, and so what I struggle with, and for me, it's like, that's fine, because
Max coaches, which is why he's, have strong feelings about it, because you're in it. Yeah.
Well, I think it's just like, it's such a great opportunity to learn. Like, the boys learning how to, so I guess my thing is, I understand, and even we argue about this too. You're like, well, we got to put a team together. And I'm like, no.
Well,
that's
the thing
not
is
what we're going to do.
Yeah, that's not what I mean. It's not like I want to put together a winning team or whatever. It's it's really frustrating that every other team does that. And then we're the only ones that come in and just take whoever's sort of left over. And that's not how the rec teams were where I grew up.
Yeah.
You had a draft, and you got 2 players from each round, and then it made all the teams pretty even, and then everyone had a run to be a great team, based off of how you work together throughout the season. That's not how it works here. You come in and you put your whole roster together, and then they'll give you that team. So if you go around and you scout over the season all the top players from all the second grade teams, and you get their parents on board on your team, then you're going to have the best team of the entire league, and you're going to win every single game.
Yeah.
That's not fair to the second graders. It's also not fair to we don't want to do that. I don't want to scout fucking whatever. I just want it to be fair for the other teams to play on, So it does get a little bit frustrating when, basically every team puts together this roster, and then we are the only ones that basically don't, because we don't really believe in it. It's just it's hard to see your kid lose every single game of the entire season and never basically win at all, because you're playing teams that have strategically put boys on that team that they know are good players, and they won't even let kids on that aren't good.
Yeah, and they play together for 3 to 4 years versus this is just
not
their
even 3 to 4
season.
I mean, they'll play together all the way through.
Yeah.
They'll never change teams, which is fine.
It'll change though. So here's what's going to happen. It'll change because if you're good at 5 or 6 or 7, has fuck all to do if you're good at 10, 12, 17, 18. People don't understand it. And here's why I'm super passionate about it, because I played at a fucking higher level than all of them.
Well, that's the thing.
So they've never even sniffed the jock
funny to
of
see
someone who's played at the levels I've played at.
Yeah, the other coaches that are coaching these other teams that we're playing, I mean, they're all dads that have never played collegiate sports above Division III. And Max played Division One.
Played Division III. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, it's not. And I hate to come from it from a point of I'm better than that person, because it really doesn't have anything to do with it. It's just
it's experience and understanding.
I've been where you want to get your kids. I've been there.
Yeah.
And there's no greater teacher than experience. So if I were to have an opinion on another topic, right? It's if me were hey, Nancy, here's my thoughts on childbirth. I think this is from a C-section standpoint, I really think I have this figured out, and here are the 5 steps you need to take.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Are you an idiot? You are so misguided. And it's just a strong opinion on something that I mean, so I guess my point is I understand all sides, right? I understand everyone's side, and to me, that is a challenging place for me to be personally, because I understand if I'm the league, I'd be doing the exact same fucking thing they're doing, because they want to get as many people as they can to play. They want checks to be written and teams to come in, right? And they know that if they had to play 6, what we do, they had to play 6 random kids on a team of 2 known kids every year, it would be kind of a cluster. It would be kind of difficult to do. It might not be a great business decision, but it would be what's best for the kids.
Yeah.
And that's where I get really, really fired up. It's the same thing in our space with healthcare. Right? You look at how much fucking insurance money is wasted on men, women, whoever it is, paying for other people's care who do not fucking take care of themselves.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same. At a certain point in society, someone needs to stand up and do something about it. So I think that's where I get really fired up about the work that we do. And I'm not going to go out and start my own league, but I just think that it's we need to talk about these things more, with that's not what's best for our boys. It's not what's best for them. Getting teams that are getting prearranged teams to play in rec league and teams that are, quite frankly, are with kids your kids already fucking go to school with. like imagine if you just put our kids in some of these teams where you're going to see the same kids you go to school with and you're going to win almost every game. It's like, okay, so when you're 12 and you're playing a bunch of kids from other different cities who are going to beat the dog shit out of you because they were playing soccer in South County or like whatever it is, right? And it's just like you're not setting these kids up for success. And that's why I feel like a lot of what we do is we say, hey, I'm going to trade this short-term benefit for a longer-term reward.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at successful people, like you look at the marshmallow test, the people who are able to defer enjoyment in life, business, whatever it is, end up being more successful by a large order of magnitude over those that take shortcuts.